I think it's important to know how excited we are about, opening the season at home. I think with a regional opponent, tons of tradition at Grambling, and certainly this could be a great experience for our players to be right here in our backyard at home, with our city, our town, our fans, our university right here at Cajun Field. So we're looking forward to that opportunity. The question I think we all have to ask ourselves, and it's this way every year at the beginning of a season, is who are we, as a team? And I think this will be our first opportunity to create our own identity for this team, this 2018 Raging Cajun football team. What type of energy we're going to play with, what type of enthusiasm, what type of purpose do we have, what type of togetherness will we reflect. And I really believe in the work that we've done so far, and I'm excited about what these young men are going to do on Saturday. Regardless of rankings, regardless of preseason polls, our focus has to be on our mindset and our preparation, maximizing our focus, our self-discipline, our attention to detail relative to preparing for the game. One of the things that we're in the process of doing is mastering this Sunday to Saturday routine that can become so critical in college football, and what that looks like for each individual player, what that looks like for each member of the organization relative to the role that they play for our team. Grambling presents a number of challenges. Coach Fobbs has provided some stability there. He certainly has had some continuity with his staff. And they present different problems for you in all three phases. I think offensively, they've done a good job of spreading the field. They do have 5 offensive linemen with significant experience coming back. They've got a good group of skilled players with their running backs and their receivers. And they have a number of transfers, junior college players, college transfers at quarterback, at running back, at tight end. And certainly on defense, these guys present an attacking style. They take chances. They do a good job of mixing it up. They have an identity. They know who they are. Coordinator's been there for a number of years, and they have a good comprehension of who they are and what they want to be. So overall, a great challenge for our football team, and certainly as a first-year staff and a first-year head coach, we're excited about this opportunity.
Questions, please?
Are you ready to announce the starting QB?
We will. We're going to play both young men. We're going to announce later this week who will actually start the game. But I think both of these guys have earned the opportunity to play. I think they both have the respect of their teammates, and both have proved that they can execute at a high level. And I think that they've got great relationship, and I think that it won't be a problem for our team. And I think as we go, we'll see where that ends up. But certainly Andre, being the senior, has had a tremendous training camp. He's worked as hard as any player on our team relative to what he's invested in this season. And I think Levi is a unique young man who has tremendous leadership capability, has a tremendous effect on his teammates, and he could be a spark for us. So I think both players are very effective players, and I think that you'll see both of those guys on Saturday at some point.
Coach, with an early week 2 bye week, is the game 3 starter more accurate than who the game 1 starter is going to be?
I think that's a good way to look at it. I think relative to the big picture here, and given how both young men have prepared and how both young men have proven themselves, it'd be different if one guy had significantly won over the team, but I think both guys have proven themselves to the team. No matter what direction we ended up going, I think that we'd be in good shape. So we'll provide you guys with a name that will run out there the first series later this week. But today, I think that's the big statement, is that we've got 2 young men that deserve to play. We're going to play both on Saturday.
Is that something that you foresee happening throughout the course of the season, just utilizing the talents of both, or is that something you have decided now? Or?
Yeah, exactly the way you phrase that is the way I feel about it. I think that it's a situation where we got a senior who's talented. He's got a really effective passer. He's proved the be a student of the game, and a guy who could move our offense up and down the field and distribute the ball and make great decisions. But at the same time, you've got a young player who's a dynamic leader, that has the respect of his teammates that can provide a spark for our football team.
When you're scouting Grambling and your quarterback is now gone, the leading rusher is gone, does that make it a little bit more difficult to figure out maybe what they plan to do this year?
I think the biggest variable in the game is the fact that Coach Fobbs is going to call the offense, and they've lost their offensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator left for a head coaching opportunity. They named the offensive line coach the coordinator. So, Coach Fobbs' history offensively relative to maybe what we have on film, I think that's one of the variables in the game, is adjusting to what we see from their offense within the game and early in the game.
Quarterbacks aren't the only four that you have. Barnes and Bradley, I think McDowell and Higgins and Haynes and Deuce. Are those particular ones where you feel you can't really go wrong either way?
Yeah, I think so, but it really is a reflection of the competition and belief in both players. Really basically saying when we put Orr there that, hey, both these guys are starters and they deserve that recognition. One may get to run out first, and probably that's a reflection of what type of week they had in practice. But you're going to see both those players at some point during the game, probably in a 50-50 type scenario. So, and a lot of guys that maybe are not listed as starters are going to play significant snaps in the game. And we hope to build quality depth, and we hope to have more players that can play winning football, that can earn a role, so that our depth becomes valuable down the stretch. We can have a cumulative effect on the opponent and play better in the second half. So I think overall that's the big message for our team is, hey, every day we've got an opportunity, and each player has an opportunity to prove themselves by what they put on the practice film. Are they dependable, accountable? Can we trust you? Will you do your job, and can you perform at a high level when it really counts?
Are kickoffs something you're going to decide just on maybe who shows the strongest leg during the week, and is that something you might do each week just depending on leg strength?
Yeah, I think a lot of it have to do with performance throughout the week, and certainly that's an area of our team where we want to clear that picture up as we go forward. So, but Calvin's done a good job with that throughout training camp, and he's been a little more consistent there. But certainly Kyle has come in and earned the respect of everybody in the building relative to what he can do.
With the special teams, you've mentioned, I guess after the first, second scrimmage, a lot of moving parts with the other 10 guys out there. Have you settled as far as those teams?
We have. We basically kind of set those depth charts, the last 3 or 4 practices relative to who we're going to start repping for the game. But I do certainly think that within the week here, there's going to be competition and evaluation of the practice tape relative to, who's going to actually get to be a starter on each unit. So that's one of the areas where we have lots of competition on the team, and lots of guys are working toward proving themselves and earning a role in the team. So, but yes, we have narrowed that down quite a bit.
With the new kickoff rule where you have the option of fair catching the kickoff and bringing it to the 25, you've got an experienced guy back there in Raymond. What is going to determine how you're going to play that?
I think each week's a little bit different relative to the talent of the kicker of the other team, relative to where the ball comes down, what type of hang time we're talking about, what type of speed on the return team, where are the players relative to when the ball gets caught. And each week you make a little bit different decision based off of those variables. So, but certainly we want to be aggressive in those areas because we feel like we have some weapons back there that can make a difference in the game.
How important is just the first quarter being the first game, just getting off to a good start? Both teams kind of figuring out what they do well and what they don't do well. So how important is just getting off to a good start and winning that first quarter?
Well, I think each week you want to start fast, but I think it's important, and we've talked a lot about, the nature of this game is that it creates adversity. There's not going to be many days at the park where bad things don't happen, and our ability to stay together, to really use that as an opportunity, not necessarily as, hey, I'm the victim here, I want to make excuses or blame others, but really challenge our players to come together when we encounter those difficult times. And I think that's what makes football unique. It's a game of momentum. It's a game of responding to adversity. It really, what's your mental toughness relative to the situations in the game, and hopefully we put our players through an off-season, try to simulate some of those difficult things that they'll encounter when we start playing the games.
How much have you heard from guys maybe feeling more prepared for the season because of how organized they were during the summer as opposed to previously where maybe things were a little less organized, especially with the OTAs?
I think that's one of the areas where I feel like we have done a good job. I think especially being a first-year staff, I thought our template that we used for this summer was really effective. We were maybe a little bit further ahead. You could notice that the first 7-10 days of training camp. So we used this summer, and I think the new rules that were made a couple of years ago, allowing meetings and certainly the opportunity to grow leadership at the player level is really what the OTAs are about. But certainly having the opportunity to meet with the players a couple hours a week presents, especially for a first-year staff, presents a great opportunity for us. And I think we took advantage of that.
Coach, at this point, what are still some areas on your team that you have certain concerns about?
I think that, we're a little banged up in the defensive line. I think relative to the quality depth that we have there, we've added some good players. And, on defense in particular is where we've had an influx of personnel. 15 new scholarship players, 3 players moved from offense to defense. So I think just how those guys perform, being relatively new, is a big part of our growth as a football team here over the next, especially early in the season. Really improving each week and learning what to expect and how to prepare. I think all those things are, probably, the biggest question mark, not only I have, but most people have about our team.
Is anybody out for Saturday besides the out for the season guys?
We have a couple of guys that are questionable. Sammy Ochoa is questionable, and Lorenzo McCaskill is questionable due to an ankle injury that he sustained during practice. So both those guys will be rehabbing throughout the week, and as we get closer to the game, we'll know a little bit more. But, in general, our philosophy is if they can't practice, they can't play. So, we'll know more as we get to Tuesday and Wednesday practice whether or not those guys are able to take the necessary reps to be prepared to play.
You have any update on Chase Rogers? Is he getting healthier?
He is. Chase is out of his cast now. He's in a boot. He's working with our strength conditioning staff, with the training staff. Certainly now that we've started school out of training camp, he's been able to come to meetings. He's doing really well. So we anticipate Chase being able to get back where he can practice football at the, probably the last third of the season. We'll be able to make some decisions about his future at that point.
What about our team? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What about our team?
Our team's recovery is coming along really well. And certainly, he's a guy who he could have another year of eligibility and could, basically put himself in position maybe to compete for the job next year. That's kind of the big picture for him, whether or not he can do that physically or he wants to do that. But those are things that are down the road that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Any chance for possibly end of the season for him, though? Is that
I think it's highly unlikely. It is his kicking knee, but, you never say never, right? I think that the big thing that we're excited about is the stability that Kyle has brought to our football team and how he's proven to be a consistent performer day in and day out in practice.
We have time for a couple more, please.
How do you think your team responded to the mock game week last week?
I thought it was good. Tons of mistakes. It's not necessarily just the players. I mean, it's the staff. It's every person in the organization relative to, hey, we've got this amount of time, and we need to be really efficient, get the most out of our time, get the most out of our meetings. Certainly within that 20-hour rule, we have to be, when we're on the field, when the clock's running, we've got to get the most of that time. So we'll be much improved. Yesterday was our first Thursday format that we did, and we you know, we've got several notes there that we'll talk about later today to improve at. But we'll go back. Today's our first time repeating a Monday in-season routine, and from here on, we've done these things before. We just need to be better at them this time.
And just from the scrimmages that you guys have done, how prepared do you think your team is to execute the adjustments you need to make in the game? Just this being the first game, how prepared do you think you guys are to execute the in-game adjustments you have to do?
Well, it's actually easier to make in-game adjustments, you know, than it is during the scrimmage because you have to call plays the entire scrimmage, you know. So I think that, you know, we have an opportunity to have time between series, not only to give those guys a break physically, but we can make adjustments within the game relative to what's happening. We've got a good plan. We've executed that plan, and certainly we'll get better at that each and every week as we go forward.